All right, guys, welcome to the Buff Show. Today we have a market update coming your way. Today is February 18th, and we're reviewing January numbers. So we got a trio today. We got Mr. Paden Clancy Fairbanks with us, a.k.a. Clancy. That way it doesn't get too confusing, because I'm the real Paden in Utah. He's awfully quiet.
I'm not going to come after you. We're trying to
Put a camera in his face and he starts getting sweaty.
I'm trying to poke him, but I'm sure he'll start attacking here soon.
Oh.
So one thing I want to know, I had a lender send me interest rates going back 5 years. So today, what are we, around 7%?
Yeah,
Plus or
6.5 to 7.
Is that what you agree?
7. I'd say 7.
Yeah, I would.
Sure.
Your lenders suck.
So going back to 2021, February 1st of 2021, the interest rate was 2.73 for a 30-year. The 15-year firm was 2.21%. And then 2022, 3.55% on the 30-year. 15 was 2.77. And then this is when all chaos broke loose.
End of 2022, or start of 2023 to the end of 2023. Okay.
Yes. End of 2023 or 2022.
Would you call it when chaos broke loose or when we got back to reality?
Probably both. But then February 1st of 2023, we jumped up to 6.09% on the 30-year, and the 15-year up to 5.14%. And then 2024, February 1st, 6.63%. So we're even up. Well, I mean, we're about the same, but I would say even up from February 1st of last year.
Right. We've seen some spikes and stuff go up and down, but we ran to 5.5, 6.
Yeah.
Then 6.5 to 7, and then we've just kind of been bouncing between that 5.75 and 7.5.
Only spend a second doing this. What interest rates do you expect us to get to this year? And then what interest rates do you think would make it so we start seeing more inventory come on the market?
Whoa.
That's
or more people buying.
All right, 6-month bet.
Yeah.
Loser
Hey,
buys lunch.
You know how many lunches I've had to buy on this show because of stupid stuff like that you just
Yeah. Okay, here's my, in 6 months, I bet the interest rate is a 5.75. Look in the camera, make your predictions.
in
Whoever
6
closes.
months. Which camera? I'd look in.
I was looking. I don't want to look at that one around. Yeah.
I think 6.1.
Look at the
That's
camera and
6.1.
say, "Don't look at us."
6.1. Yeah.
6 months, Paden.
6 months, 6.1. I'm gonna say 6.5. I'm not that optimistic.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
Anyways, 6.5. But if we do see interest rates come down, answer the second part of this question. If that happens, what's going to happen?
I think that's why I said 5.75, because I think that's healthy enough that we're not going to see a massive run.
I think you would see a run.
I think you're going to see the people that are, a quick blip run maybe, but you're not going to have them come out of the woodworks and people buying the stuff because it's just an fathomable deal. Does that make sense? It's not going to be so cheap that you're stupid if you don't buy something right now.
I think it does help for sure. But Cade, just in their meeting this morning, said he got like a 5.8 in October.
Yeah.
Which
there's dips.
Which I got a 7.1 in November. So,
but in October you didn't see a run either, really. We saw a little run.
I saw a run a little bit, but I was like, I bet that it was going to keep dropping, and I didn't lock, and so I ended up being like 1% higher because I thought they would keep going down, but they didn't.
See, he is a little bit optimistic.
That's how.
I think one of the biggest things we're going to see happen in the next 6 months is that people are going to be more comfortable with real estate prices and be more realistic on their expectations going on in the future. And if we see the market start to level out like that, then we're going to see the demand for mortgages go up, because we already have saw the Fed rate go down by a full percentage, which doesn't matter for interest rates, but the 10-year Treasury yield is still super high because people are still so concerned about the real estate market. So as people get comfortable with prices, mortgages become a good investment vehicle for investors, we're going to see mortgage interest rates go down. I feel like that's going to happen in the next 6 months.
Did he practice?
I guess.
Yeah,
I talk about that all the time.
I agree with you, and we've actually been saying that for the last almost 6 months. Or hey, like that reality's coming in. Like these are what payments are going to have to be now. Like that shell shock's finally wearing off for a bunch of people, and the reality of it, if you want to make a move or if you need to get into a home, that's what you have to do to get there.
Oh, I saw a post on, it was on Instagram, and it said like income needed to qualify for certain house prices. I clicked on it and it took me to like a Threads link, and it was going to make me sign in, but we should pull that up because that'd be interesting. Like $1 million house today, what's like roughly
Your
the
income,
income
you need.
needed? I'll look it up, but let's jump into the monthly indicator. So this is just going over, it's for the state, January of 2025, and this compares going back a year. And we kind of had an argument this morning in our agent meeting because I
Was wrong.
I said something that I still feel like, well, yeah, we'll talk about it. So
He's being very prideful for sure.
so new listings. This is accounted the properties that have been newly listed on the market in a given month. So in January of 2024, we had 4242. January of 2025, 4848. That's interesting that the numbers match, but up 14.3%. New listings from compared to a year ago, which is that's interesting. We're still down from like previous years, like even clear back in 2007, 2008, which I find pretty interesting because there was that many new listings back. Like 2007, there was a point that there was 10,000 new listings in one month. In one month, which is crazy to think, because I would like, that's what, how many years ago?
2017?
Yeah.
8 years ago.
Is it 8 years ago?
Yeah.
8 years ago.
Yeah.
So 8 years ago, I feel like we have way more units, like way more household units in Utah that have been built since then. And you would think that there would be more moving. Does that make sense? Like there's more supply for homes to be listed. But that was still like the peak of units for sale on the market. In a given month.
10,000
10,000
in a month.
Yeah.
Even if only 20% of that was new homes, or 10%.
Yeah.
And that's 1,000 new homes. I bet it's more than that. I bet it's at least 2,000 a month or 1,000 a month new homes that are actually closing in Utah. And you could actually look at the stats. I mean, half of our house is, builders and stuff, so they have a lot of those stats out there. But we are building it at an extreme rate in Utah.
I know. Like all the townhomes and condos and everything going up, it just seems like it's crazy that we're still at this all-time low of, I mean, we're up from last year, but we're still like pretty low compared to like what we've seen in the past. And I think it's because there's so many sellers that are still married to their rate. They're like, I'm not going to leave this 3% interest rate.
Yeah. I'm glued in. Like, I'm going to be there for the rest of my life, unless you start paying better. But, anyways, let's jump to pending sales. So, a count of the properties on which offers have been accepted in a given month. So, you're actually under contract. You've come to an agreement. January 2024, we had 3,358 go under contract. January 2025, we had 2,970. So we actually have less homes going under contract in January than we did last year. So our inventory is up and our pending sales are down. So the ones that are just under contract are down, knowing that our actual closed sales, that's going to be a precursor that it's going to be down even more. So.
Well, and that's what we were talking about earlier, just in general, is supply and demand. Everybody really wants to make everything super complicated, but the simple truth is, from what we're seeing right now at this specific moment, we're seeing more homes listed, so supply's up. We're seeing less homes selling, meaning the demand is down.
And I agree with that basic metric, but I don't think its demand is down. I think the ability is down, right?
Yeah, but that's why I was talking about interest rates earlier too. Is the goal is that our demand is being artificially deflated right now because of interest rates.
Correct.
And so if we could get it back down to a point where it's a more realistic and making it so it's more affordable for homes, demand will go back up to where it's naturally supposed to be.
Say that in layman's terms, so dumb guys like me. When you say demand is artificially deflated, talk to me like I'm a third grader so I know what you're saying.
So mortgage interest rates back in 2020 or 2021 and 2021 were artificially deflated by the government decreasing the Fed rate and all of that stuff. So it was an outside force decreasing interest rates.
So not actually making it your want to buy the home less. It's the ability. Yeah, I guess it would be your want because you don't want to pay the higher price. Right?
Yeah, but it's somebody else changing the amount that you can afford to buy a house, changing what, like if interest rates were at 4%, sorry, we're going off on a side tangent
Sure.
here. If interest rates were at their natural place back in 2021, 4 to 5.5%, which they'd been for like the last 6 years before that, the amount of homes sold would have been different because the demand would have been artificial. It wouldn't have been artificial at all. But because interest rates were so low, demand was artificially increased. And so now we're dealing with the exact opposite, where interest rates are super high because it was artificially forced to go high because of the Fed rates, because of 10-year Treasury yields, because of people not being content with the market, where if it was at their more natural place, hopefully at like 5.5 or 6%, we would see demand increase to more natural place. So now it's natural, or it's art. I feel like, I might be saying this wrong, but I feel like it's an outside force forcing demand to be decreased right now. I agree with you.
Yep. I just like the way you said it. So it makes the feel for other people that are listening, like myself. I mean, I'm super smart, so
handsome.
You got close sales.
Oh,
this is Paden's first time. That's why this is taking forever.
It's Clancy.
Clancy. This is Clancy's first time.
Closed sales for January of 2025 were 2,000. Did I say it right?
You did.
Yeah.
For January of 2025 were 2,333, and then for January of 2024 were 2,531. So closed sales were down 7.8% compared to a year ago, which is really very substantial.
Yeah.
But what we've been seeing for everything else.
Sorry, I've been really quiet.
It's kind of nice.
I wasn't liking it. He was really mean to me at the beginning of the podcast.
I Chat GPT, this is impressive. We're going to dive into this, but I got those questions that I was looking for. I agree with you guys, though, on everything that you were saying.
I think if we burn through this, and then at the end, then we can really do like a full
I agree
like what we
I
did.
agree with you.
And then he can pull a bunch of stuff out of that, but then we can get the episode.
Let's do it.
Let's
just do whatever
whatever
better.
better.
Yeah. Well, it's about time someone starts listening to what I say.
So days on market, and this always runs with supply and demand as well. You know, we're seeing the supply increase, demand dropping down a little bit, so naturally it's increasing our days on market. We went from 62 January of last year up till 70, and keep in mind that's the average number of days between when a property is listed and when the offer is accepted. And again, a typical offer takes about 30 days. So if you're a seller in Utah and you want to move start to finish from the time that you list to the closing table, on average, you're about 100 days.
Isn't that crazy?
Right now.
That's almost a third of a year.
Yeah.
From the time you decide to sell to the time you can move out, on average.
So keep that in mind as you're making these plans. It's not like it was before where homes were under contract in 14 days, start to finish, and you were out of there. You have to plan on that.
Or be extremely aggressive with your pricing.
Yes.
So median sales price, and this is a good one that a lot of people want to know. So point at which half of the sales sold for more and half of the sales sold for less, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. So basically, we're going to take all the sales, line them up, and then we're going to smack the front and the end ones off until we get to the middle. So January 2024 is $485,000 average or median sales price. January 2025, $499,725. So basically $485,000 and $500,000, giving a 3% price increase, which is still impressive because, I mean, everything that's saying we should be going down in price is where Paden's saying he's right, because what I'm seeing in my personal micro market is we're softening just slightly, maybe that much or less. But overall, in the state of Utah, where we've gone up on the median price, sell price.
Well, and we don't got to go into this too deeply, but that does show how much pent-up demand that there is, because even with interest rates increasing by more than double, the fact that home prices are still going up year over year, there's some pent-up demand there for sure.
But why, and well, let me ask you this question after you do average sales price.
Read the definition.
We're going to do average sales price for all closed sales, not accounting for seller concessions in a given month. And so in 2025, we're going to start with 2024, trying to follow his, was $617,243. In 2025, it was $699,608 for an increase of 13.3%. That's
a
a
big jump.
chunk. That's a huge jump.
So why? And this was the point that I was like kind of making in the meeting. Why are we seeing prices increase when supply is up and demand seems to be going down? You would think that our prices would be softening and following that.
So I have a great theory for this. And if you notice, our median sales price is a lot
Lower.
It's a 3% raise, right? Because the way they calculate it,
Yeah.
the average sales price is a lot higher.
Yeah.
So the average price is way higher because what I'm seeing is that median market isn't selling. What's selling is very top end market and very low end market. And even on the low end, it's not moving as much as the top end market. So we're having a lot more, I shouldn't say a lot more over $1 million plus sales. We're just having more of them compared to what we had in the median range, right? So our averages are going to be skewed, which I think even at 13%, I would think it would almost be more.
The only difference, the way I would answer your question is we're only looking at 1 month's stats. And
Yeah.
so you're trying to take this month's stats that try to dictate last month's prices, where actually it was the stats before that. And what we'd seen a lot last year where we saw home sales and home demand both decreasing, but there's a huge point where we were seeing home listings actually decrease quicker than home sales, or supply decrease quicker than demand. And so I feel like that's why we were seeing price increases still, was because as much as everything was going down, supply was going down quicker than demand.
Yeah.
Where now and even still they were at least staying kind of similar. Where now we're seeing a clear difference between the two.
And I guess we are, like, these numbers that we're reviewing right here was January of 2025, which these homes were going under contract about like October, November, December time that are closing now.
These are indicators for February, March, and April.
Well, and you can look at your year over year. We've only had one negative month year over year, and that was in September.
Yeah.
So
And it was barely down.
right, and other than that, we're
and
running
November.
Oh yeah, September, and November, and they're barely down. Other than that, everything is, 4 to 5% or way higher.
Which is crazy. We're up almost, like, average sales price is for sure up past where we were in 2021, the peak, and median sales price we're not quite as high, but we're getting close.
So
to like a full rebound,
right.
I'd say. Okay, percentage of original list price received. So this is basically what percentage did you get of the overall asking price, and this is for all properties sold in a given month, not accounting for seller paid concessions, which
is huge.
Like, I just had an offer come across my desk this past week where the buyers were asking for $50,000 in seller paid concessions. And it's not uncommon to see 5, 10, 15, 25 grand, like even up to 50.
I don't think of my last 7 to 10 deals, I've not had some sort of either seller paid close, some kind of concession, some kind of money back.
So when we talk about these numbers, keep in mind it's probably
we're not
1 to
talking about that
1 to
number.
2% less than this.
Yeah.
So last year, 2024, sellers got an average of 95.7% of their list price. So they were negotiating 4.3%. This year, sellers are getting 96.3% of list price. So we're up 0.6%. But again, if we were to really factor in seller paid closing costs, this year I would say we're closer to 95 to 94% of list price received.
Which and honestly, that's stayed pretty mild over the last year as well.
Yeah.
Not a lot of big swings. I like it because it shows that people are now pricing houses accordingly, right? They're not getting bid on and ransacked through the roof.
Right.
And there's a little bit of give and a little bit of take, right? I feel a healthy negotiation all around right now.
And it's just crazy how fast the market changes, because it was 4 years ago and sellers were getting over 100% of list. So it's just wild how fast this can swing.
Housing affordability index. I hate this one. And I'm gonna explain it to you how I want to and not how they tell me to. So the housing affordability index is basically a number. They put a number to the median income of a home and then the median price of a home and how affordable it is according to those and a few other metrics, right? So at basically the number at 100, it is equally affordable with the median income to the median home price. Anything below that, it's less affordable. Anything above that, above 100, it is more affordable, easier to do per se. So January 2024, we were at 78%, so we are lower than that baseline affordability, right? January 2025, we've actually dropped to 74. So we've dropped 4 basis points basically from that 100 basis mark of a 5% less affordable in January 2025 than in 2024.
And that's probably why we're seeing like pending sales
Yep.
down and things like that.
Yep.
Because it's been going down. It's been getting less affordable.
Like that was the cleanest I have ever done the affordable
Yeah, that-
affordability index. Usually I butcher it.
That was impressive.
Next, we got inventory of homes for sale, the number of properties available for sale and active status at the end of a given month. In 2024, it was 9,842. In 2025, it was 11,638 for an increase of 18.2%. So we're seeing a lot of homes for sale at the end of the month, more compared than to last year.
You know what's interesting to me though? Look at our year over years. 18% is not uncommon. Or right close to it throughout the last 12 months.
No, we've been seeing some huge spikes. Well, because
And I think
in the craze of 2021, we were under 5,000 homes for sale in a given month, which is crazy. And that's where you didn't even get to choose what house you wanted. It was like
it was
if you
just if you can get an offer to stick,
Yeah.
you stuck it.
and then people were like, "Well, I guess we're gonna have to buy this one because that's all we can get." Now you can actually shop around.
But that's what's interesting too, is I have people send this to me all the time where they're like, there's 10,000, 11,000 homes on the market. And they're like, oh my goodness, that's so many homes. And I'm like, your perception is so skewed because of what you've seen the last 4 years.
Yeah,
10,000 homes on the market is what we've seen for a long time.
For-
Those
yeah.
are those are
Oh, yeah.
normal numbers.
it's still low. In fact, because
yeah.
you go back to
Yeah.
2008 through 2010, we had almost 30,000 homes on
Yeah.
on the market, which is crazy. That's triple what we have now.
and they're reading that indicator wrong though. They're thinking
Yeah.
in their mind, oh my goodness, there's this huge inventory that we've never seen before, and it's the exact opposite.
Right. Yeah. Well, and this will go into like month supply of inventory. So it's the inventory of homes for sale at the end of a given month divided by the average monthly pending sales from the last 12 months. So last year we were at 3 months supply. This year we're at 3.4 months supply. So we're up 13%. And this is kind of what we go off of, like whether it's a buyer's market or seller's market. Anything less than 6 months supply of inventory is considered a buyer's market, a seller's market, and anything over 6 months supply is considered a buyer's market. So the last time, if we go off of those metrics, that Utah was in an actual buyer's market was like fall of 2012. So from summer of 2007 to fall of 2012, that's when we were in like a good buyer's market. Ever since then, we have been well below that in a seller's market.
I agree. And I think people go, oh, that needs to be adjusted and stuff. But what I really think it is we have got to cut out 3 years of our past and forget that.
Yeah.
Because it just skews everything else on as far as selling goes.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Like what Ben said, if you take out 2020 to 2022, that like big dip there, like we would be in a pretty like normal,
A very,
normal.
yeah. And then the last time you see a big change in the opposite direction was in the 08 bubble, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The housing crash. And you see it do it the opposite, right?
Right.
So
Let's cover some of our other like little micro markets. So you could cover Morgan. We'll talk about Weber County and Ogden Valley. See
All
what's going on in those areas, and then we'll.
So Morgan County, so 2024, so this is new listings. 2024, we had 14, and January 2025, we had 13. Mind you, Morgan County is a micro market, so one house is like 2,000 overall, right, in the state of Utah. Pending sales, we went from 10 in 2024 to a negative 30% decrease to 7, right? So that's a big jump for
Big
3
swings.
houses. Yep. But closed sales, we went from 7 in 2024 to 10 closed. So we had a 42% rise in closed. What I really want to point out in Morgan, because it's such a small market data that it's so skewed is this is why I like to use the median price in Morgan, because we're slapping off the multi-million-dollar houses and we're slapping off the townhomes, right? And we're trying to get that baseline number in Morgan. In 2024, it was 577,000. In 2025, it is 670,000. That's $100,000 jump.
Yeah.
Average sales price, it's actually usually a little more dramatic, but in this one, it's not. It's actually 643,000 last year to 699,000, giving us about a $50,000, $55,000 increase on the average and the median. So, I mean, those are huge increases for one little small town.
Well, that's crazy. Like, but yet the percentage of list price received went down almost 1% to 94.8%. So sellers in Morgan are negotiating more than like the state on average.
Yeah,
But we're seeing good swings on their sales prices.
and
then-
I think that's because right now Morgan's going through this weird growing phase, right, where people are buying stuff like that outrageous price, right, and people are doing that. So people aren't super confident on how to list their homes at a certain price in Morgan. So they're always going a little bit high right now, is what I'm seeing, and then they're concessing quite a bit.
They're being a little bit more
Understanding.
a little bit too optimistic.
Correct. And then they have to correct.
Yeah.
But
Di-
1% correction's not horrible.
No.
You know, if you're being optimistic.
Right. And then days on market, 60 to 83, so 23 days more on market. That's a 38% increase, that's quite a bit more than the state average of 70. 13 days more. Not a whole lot of homes for sale.
And that's why it's hard to really, there's so many factors that skew this one. That's why I really like just to hit your median price.
Yeah.
And then essentially days on market too. That's another hard one that people
Do you
need to realize.
feel like there's a lot of homes that sell off market in Morgan too?
Yes and no. A lot of land sells off market.
Yeah.
Homes usually hit the market because there's such a demand to get up there.
Yeah.
The land usually sells off market because it's coming from a farmer or a quietness. People don't want to piss off their neighbor. People don't want to know that they bought a new, chunk. It's a weird. So a lot of land trades back and forth inside of Morgan off market. So, and I'm sure same with the Valley, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay, let's jump to Weber County, or Clancy. What do you see in there?
For Weber County, for new listings, we're just going over each one of these little.
Yeah, just like kind of the highlights, things that you want to point out.
For new listings for January, for 2024, we had 347. For 2025, we had 371. So you see that 6.9% increase. The hardest thing about Weber County stats is that you've got places like Eden and Huntsville going in this mix with Ogden, Utah, which is just always a perception to kind of understand. Your closed sales went from 100, and that's what I've always found interesting about Ogden as well. It doesn't, or Weber County, it doesn't necessarily follow the state trend, because closed sales is 182 in 2024 and 207 in 2025 for January, for an increase of 13.7%. So you're having more people buy homes in Weber County than this year than they were last year, which
I'm curious about that perception you were talking about. I wonder how many of those close sales when Paden does Eden, Huntsville, Liberty, like the Ogden Valley area,
I don't know,
compared to Weber. So we'll find that out. Actually, let's compare it right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
How much that is.
So in January of 2025, there was only 11 homes sold in the Valley. So Eden, Huntsville, and Liberty, 11 units sold. That's not including lots. This isn't including lots either. But in 2024, there was only 4 homes, which is crazy.
So that's really not skewing that number much. So Weber County in a whole did quite a bit.
But I still think I think Ogden is one of the best. We're getting a pure speculation.
Okay,
we're not
here
going to
we
go too
go.
far with this. I do think Ogden's one of the best markets that people want to buy into because they feel like it's affordable. You've got some pretty affordable areas in Ogden. It's pretty nice areas.
Yeah.
And Eden, Huntsville is the exact same thing for a luxury. I hate using that word, but for a luxury space where like Park City is twice as expensive as Huntsville, maybe more.
Well, and the average sold price in Eden, Huntsville, Liberty is just over $1 million.
Yeah.
And your average sales price in Weber County is $500,000. So you're double to go up into Eden, Huntsville, Liberty. But they're in the process of incorporating, so that's all going to change here soon.
But you have two opportunity zones in Weber County.
Yeah.
Between this luxury area and then this, where I would live kind of area.
Yeah, because you're in North Ogden, and before we moved to Eden, we were in South Ogden. I love Weber County and I like helping people come to Weber County because it feels like it's a little bit cheaper than Davis, quite a bit cheaper than Salt Lake and Utah County, but you're still close, and you're close to 3 ski resorts, reservoirs, like all the trails. Like it's a great area to live.
Yeah, Ogden Bay, the Willard, all the hunting out that way.
This is not meant to be a plug for Weber County,
Yeah.
but it's a very interesting.
But it is.
But
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Well, but also on top of that, like you would wonder why Cache County. I'm really interested to look at Cache County stats and see how they kind of relate, because Ogden is an opportunity zone that still does have all the availability of a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of rushplex kind of stuff, a bunch of ski hills where you don't have those same kind of fun opportunities at Box Elder and Cache County. Like, there's just not as much to do.
Well, Cache is just hard because it's like its own little economy. It's
like
like
ecosystem.
It's like once you're there, like that's where people work. Like they rarely come down to Salt Lake or like along the Wasatch Front unless they're going on a vacation or something. You get to the airport.
Thousands of people in Ogden travel down to Salt Lake City to work, but I doubt more than that. I don't have any idea what the numbers. But there's not many people driving through Sardine Canyon every day to get to
Weber County is still centrally located to everything.
That's why we moved here.
To the play, to the work, to the I agree.
Sorry, we got
No, you're good.
median sales price for 2024 was $417,000, where in January 2025 it was $437,533 for an increase of 4.9%. So that's about 1.9% higher than the state. Or am I saying that right? Because it was 3% for the state. Average sales price was this is interesting. Average sales price in 2024 was $467,000. I'm just going to say that. And for 2025 was $494,000 for an increase of 5.8%, which is less than half what the average increase would have been for the state of Utah.
Which was 13, I believe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So I mean,
the entire state's pulling in like Summit, Wasatch County, so there could be some huge numbers getting skewed into there, but I'm not.
But now we're not going to be able to have the time to do the research, but that's what's so interesting is seeing what are the counties that are messing stuff up. Like Morgan County's never going to affect anything because there's 12 houses selling there, you know?
Right.
And like in a respectful way.
Even if they were all $10 million homes, there's only 12.
Yeah,
well,
it doesn't do nothing.
That's the thing to keep in mind is like when we're like it varies from community to community too. Yeah. Like there's certain communities where you're like, oh, it's a total buyer's market in this area because there's all these listings and homes for sale, and they're not moving as fast. So like, it's funny how fast you can like tweak and manipulate data.
And write a story that isn't necessarily true.
Oh, right? That's the other thing. Yeah, you can give an excuse for every metric that we have and why it's doing it and speculate on it. And I think it changes every county line you cross.
Yeah. Well, and I'll try to finish this up quick. Days on market until sale. January 2024 is 55. Up to January of 2025 was 65. So that's for an increase of 20%, but that's a little bit lower than what the state was.
Yeah, 70. Yeah.
Inventory of homes for sale, 711 in 2024. In 2025, 897 for an increase of 26.2%, which that's
it's
much higher.
Jump.
You know, it's funny. I think that it's a much higher number, but I'm actually surprised at how low that overall number is.
Yeah. And then last month supply of inventory, 2024 was 2.6, 2025 was 3.2 for 23.1%. So
which the state's 3.4 month supply of inventory, so we're still down from what the state is in Weber County.
So Weber County is just a touch hotter than
and
the
Morgan's
state.
2.8 month supply, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's just quick one sentence. It's interesting seeing how, as much as you want to write an exact story where every number supports it, that never happens. A bunch of numbers are saying this is going to happen. A bunch of numbers are saying this is going to happen.
Right. But speaking of what's going to happen, because I was saying I think we'll see prices still creep up this spring. And you guys were like, no, I feel like they'll soften. Who knows what's going to happen? But I always see in the spring, and I have quite a few sellers that are like, hey, when's the best time to put my house up for sale? And it seems like there's a big turn, a rush of inventory coming up, and you can see it in the monthly indicators.
Oh yeah, March.
Um,
March is
Like,
the start of the race for
yeah,
sure.
March, April, May, June. June's probably about the peak before it starts like slowly coming back down. And I'm telling people, like, look, it's been a pretty slow winter, like mild. There's not that much snow. It seems like people are getting out and looking at homes sooner. We've had 2 listings that we had listed last year that we've relisted, and we got offers on them right out of the gate, which put me like pretty hopeful. We're still working on the potential sale of those, but I'm seeing a fair amount of activity on listings right now, and it's got me to believe that I think one, because of the mild winter, where it just doesn't feel like it was 60 degrees a few weeks ago, like crazy.
And then we
And-
got 1.5 feet of snow.
And then we got some snow, and next week it's looking like it's going to warm up again. But I think spring's going to come faster than it has in previous years, which is going to pull the buyers out quicker. So if you're a seller, if you can beat that rush and be available when the demand is picking up, I think it puts you in like a pretty like good spot. And then we naturally will see prices start to pull up because
Look at me right here. When he says be ready for that, what he means get your marketing done, like right meow. Get all your stuff in line ready to go. Then if you want to sit on your thumbs for a little bit and be like, oh, I want to wait, I'm not quite ready. That way we can be all the way ready and we're not rushed to try to turn a good product for you. Like get your shit done.
But what if they don't know where they want to go and they need to sell their house first in order? Shouldn't they go find a house to buy first?
See how we
before-
like teed that up like a nerd. Still, have all your stuff ready. Don't do that because that's dumb in my opinion unless you absolutely have to do it. But get your house on the market. Get it under contract contingent to buy. You know, that's a lot better position to be in
Yeah,
because then you're coming in cocked ready to go when you put an offer out.
yeah,
So, but going back to the be ready, like spring's going to come and everyone's going to start calling being like, well, why can't you get here? Why can't you guys get any other photographers?
yeah.
You know, Matthew's sitting over here in the back. For us, we had to hire an in-person, media guy because that's how fast this market turns. It goes from photographers begging for work to you're 2 weeks before I'll even put you on the schedule. So beat that curve. Have all your stuff ready. Shell in the gun, ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're sitting there and you're saying I'm going to do this in a month or 2 months or whatever, I don't know why you don't talk to somebody a little bit earlier so that we can start doing work on our end to get you prepared.
Yeah.
If you give me 1 month to figure out the best way to sell your house, I'm going to be much more useful than I'm going to be if you say, hey, I need to list my house in 3 days.
Well, and that's the problem is I think people go out and find the house that they want, and then they're like, oh, I would move for that house. And it's not a great way to do it because then you can't be aggressive with the seller on getting that deal tied up because you have a subject to sell. So you take a hit there if you can even get it accepted. And then when you go to sell your house, you're in a rush. Your photos don't look good. Your marketing doesn't look great. And you're just dropping the price so you can get it sold in a quick time when on average it's 70 days to sell a house right now, like on average anyway. So it just takes time. So if you're wanting to move this summer, like you should be putting your house out there now. And it is kind of like that step of faith where you're like, I'm not sure where I'm going to go, but I'm confident that when the time comes, I'll find something. And I've helped a ton of people do that sell and then buy. It always works out. And I think one thing that your agent can do is pull a list of the properties that you're interested in, see how many have sold in the past 6 months. And if there's like 15 or 20 properties that kind of match your criteria, it's pretty safe to say that you'll be able to find one when your house goes under contract. And you can make it subject to sell so that you're not going to be out anything. So there's a bunch of ways we can work that. Do you guys have anything else you want to add there?
Nope.
So I had Chat GPT pull like to afford $1 million home.
Okay, here we go.
This is interesting. You'll typically need an annual income between $225,000 and $366,000.
That is such a huge range, Chat
That is
GPT.
a huge range.
225. That's like $100,000 a
well,
year.
and it has all this text. As of February 18th, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate is approximately 6.53%.
Told you.
That's with 20% down, though. your loan amount would be $800,000. So you need $200,000 down. Not everybody's putting down 20% on the $1 million purchase.
I don't think you can get a loan right now on a traditional mortgage without 20% down at over $1 million.
Well, if you did a jumbo, yeah, you might not be able to.
I think they require it at a certain point. So,
and then I asked it, ChatGPT, to break it down. Like a $500,000 home, you need roughly $108,000 in income. $600,000 home, 130, 700, 152, 800, 173. This says $1 million home, 217,000. So that's quite a bit lower.
I wonder if ChatGPT factored in like eating.
Well, I think
just a random.
$1 million home. That's quite a bit
Anyways,
lower.
I just want the last word. Love you, bye.
Well, peace out.